Let me start
My
off.
feet are your favorite and rounded thighs. What you gonna talk about?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we read Song of Solomon chapter number 7. Now, if you are a fan of this being absolutely literal, I think you are well on your way. This means this whole short chapter, 13 verses. I think you're on good ground to just understand.
I just enjoyed listening.
Yeah, this means everything you think it means. And as a matter of fact, the more I study kind of the language of this, the more I think it means more than we're even catching.
He said, please let it.
So here's what you're going to find. In chapter 7, this is the third time that Solomon describes his wife. And so
In way more detail.
in a lot of detail. Now, here's kind of generally, like, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but he knows her from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. He knows her. All right? Why? Because when God created man, it was not good that man dwell alone. Okay? So he created for man a helpmate. And so these two have become one flesh. They have left father and mother and they have become one. And so what's happened is over the course of their relationship, they're not just coexisting as roommates. Evidently, he has studied her. He knows her, he loves her, and whenever we go back to the garden, Orville, shut up.
He doesn't have a girlfriend.
He doesn't. When we go back to the garden, we're figuring out that in this marriage relationship, they are together and they are not ashamed in front of one another. All right. So now you've got the Lord forming relationships that are fixing kind of a brokenness from the beginning. And then what was he describes her. What I think is funny is, so there's nothing common here. No, look at verse 1. He says, "How beautiful are your feet in sandals." I think you would appreciate this. He noticed her shoes. Her shoes were important to her, evidently.
I think he likes feet.
Okay, that's weird.
He does not like feet.
Okay, so what I think we can agree on is he can't get enough of his bride. And so the more he knows her, the greater, it says here in verse 5, a king is held captive by your tresses. Okay? So her hair and all. The more he gets to know her, the greater hold she has over him. And so this is in verse 6, how fair and how pleasant you are. He's talking about her beauty. So she's not the shy young lady that they started. They have matured now. And she is grown, and their love has brought out the best in one another. And so what I like about this is, like, in a world of thoughtless promiscuity, this married couple, they love one another. They have eyes for one another. And, by the end of this passage, she invites him on a romantic weekend getaway. And they go and they enjoy their time together. And that's what this passage is about. Now, what is it about with Jesus? Well, the bride loves her groom, and the groom loves her. The bride loves the groom loves the bride. And here's the deal. As they grow together, they also get to know one another better. And I mean, in our own relationships with the Lord, why are you wallowing? In our own relationships with the Lord, aren't we supposed to be growing and getting to know Him better and better every day? I think yes. So what'd you get out of it?
That's where my takeaway comes in. Verse 10, it's that common phrase we've heard a couple of times through the book. But this time it's a little bit different. She says, "I'm my beloved's and his desire is for me." And so as we have walked through this book, we see them pursue each other. We see them love each other. We see them get to know each other more and more intimately. We see their relationship grow. And we see her knowledge of his love for her grow also. And so if we look at this in the allegory way of we're the Shulamite, Solomon is Jesus, as they have grown in their relationship together and gotten to know each other more and more, God loves us with the fullness of love itself. He is love. And so our brains can't even fathom or wrap around how much he loves us. And so from the beginning of chapter 1, the love that Solomon has for the Shulamite, the love that God has for us, was always the fullest. One of my favorite quotes that I learned back in Old Testament days, of not like the actual days because I'm not that old, but in college we took Old Testament. And there was a quote, and it said, "There's nothing you could do to make God love you any more, and there's nothing you could do to make God love you any less." You have the fullness of his love, the completeness of his love, because he is love. And so the cool thing about this is he has not changed to her, but she's more secure in his love. She knows that his desire is for her, and she understands his love more than she did before. But what changed was how she got to know him, the time she has spent with him, the time she has walked with him, the intimacy of their relationship together. She becomes more and more secure, in her knowledge and wisdom of his love for her grows. And that's the same with us as we walk with Christ. He always loved us with the fullness of his love as God. But as we walk with him, we're the ones who are changing. And it's him getting every opportunity to show us that love, and every example in our life to give us that love. And we're the ones that get to understand it more fully and more completely.
I like that. I like, you brought out verse 10, "I am my beloved's," and it would typically say this, "I am my beloved's and he is mine." But here you brought out, it says, "I am my beloved's and his desire is toward me." Now, what I think is interesting about this is, now this is about mutual compatibility. Because if you went all the way back to Genesis, after the fall, whenever the Lord is talking to Adam and Eve, he says, it says in chapter 3, verse 16 of Genesis, or 15, he says, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman." Okay, all of that in verse 15. "Then to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conception." He's talking about childbirth. "And in pain you shall bring forth children." And it says this, "Your desire shall be for your husband." So in Genesis, it was pointing the woman's desire toward her husband. But in this marriage, it's also pointing the husband's desire back toward his wife. Why? Because they've walked together and there's mutual compatibility. Not one side is not doing all the work. Both sides, their desire is for each other. And if they put themselves in a position where I'm going to love you the most I can love you, and you're going to love me the most that you can love me, then somewhere in the middle is this happy medium where we both get our relationship needs met together. If both of us are shooting for the highest target, then we're both going to land in a good spot. I like that. So tomorrow we'll finish up in chapter 8. We look forward to seeing you there. All right, bye.
Bye.